I don't know how many of you heard about this, but apparently, for some unknown reason, someone at Disney decided to make drastic changes to The Little Mermaid for its new live-action remake. And yes, of all things, they decided to make Ariel, wait for it, a strong, independent woman. Let's discuss. Before I get started, I'd like to kindly ask that you hit the like button, and please subscribe to the channel for more content just like this.
All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
So with the slew of underwhelming announcements coming out of D23 this year, the one announcement that is getting the most attention by far is the new Little Mermaid remake. Some are taking issue with the race swapping of the Ariel character, and on the flip side of it, some people are insulting others' intelligence and acting like nothing is different.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Meanwhile, I'm sitting here and thinking about the real problem with this project, and that's that why does this movie exist at all? I honestly don't care if the lead of this movie is white, black, pink, or seafoam green. The truth is that absolutely nobody asked for a Little Mermaid remake. Just like no one asked for a Lion King remake, or an Aladdin remake, or a Beauty and the Beast remake. Are we noticing a pattern here? And before anyone gives me that tired-ass excuse that, well, you haven't seen it yet, so you can't really judge it. Besides the fact that a trailer is designed to actually get me interested in a movie and it did not do that, if you take into account that all the remakes that I just mentioned were absolute dog shit, why exactly would I think that the Little Mermaid remake would be any better? I say again, Disney's track record is everything in this situation. Disney has quite literally made a living destroying other people's established properties. And now they have turned their attention to their own beloved classics, which is still technically ruining other people's creations, by the way.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for them.
And I can hear the Disney apologists already telling me that Disney is just reintroducing these stories to a new generation. Every time I've heard that, I honestly cannot understand that train of thought. Here's an idea. If you want to introduce these stories to a new generation, then just have your kids watch the old fucking movies. It's not like they suddenly don't exist anymore. Besides, why would I introduce my child to a soulless, cheap copy of a much better movie? Every single Disney remake up until this point has been completely devoid of any kind of imagination or life, which is what made those stories magical in the first place.
That makes sense.
And if we're being honest with ourselves, this is not about introducing these stories to a new generation. It's about producing a cheap money grab because Disney is not creative enough to come up with anything new. Or at least not anything that people will actually want to see. So they take something that's already established and try to modernize it. Hard truths are tough to hear sometimes, but that's what I'm here for.
Man, I'm tired of being right.
So then we come to this article I discovered that talks about the reimagining of Disney princesses. And let me tell you, if you thought that maybe, just maybe, they might at least keep the core fairy tale nature of these stories intact, then I hate to break it to you, but you have another thing coming. First of all, this article begins with the line, call it the Elsa effect, or maybe just call it progress. I can feel the cringe-inducing shivers running up my spine as we speak.
I'm feeling woozy here!
So apparently both Rachel Zegler as well as Halle Bailey, respective stars of the upcoming live-action remakes of Snow White and The Little Mermaid, recently stated that their modern, more diverse versions of these characters will be far less tethered to those age-old, true love storylines. Little Mermaid star Halle Bailey even said, her character won't be defined by a romantic attraction to the Eric character in that story. Yes, Queen! Implying that the Ariel character is defined by the Eric character in the original story. She said, quote, it's not all about a boy, it's all about what she wants for herself and her life. Tell me you don't understand fairy tales without telling me that you don't understand fairy tales. First of all, let me just put this out there. We do not need modernized versions of classic fairy tales. For one, a lot of these stories have been done to death already. But also, the very point of a fairy tale is that they include themes that are timeless and that appeal to people from all walks of life. That's why these stories still resonate with people to this very day.
Because it's all part of the plan.
So if you take that into consideration, no updating is really necessary. Hence why these remakes themselves are unnecessary. Because these stories have already been told in universally appealing ways and really can't be improved upon. As far as those age-old true love storylines, when exactly did we get to the point where one character falling in love with another character very deeply is considered toxic or even problematic? I always thought those stories were intended to make people feel good.
Why do you cry?
But I guess if you're a miserable person in real life and don't have life experiences to speak of, this kind of storytelling might be too much for you to handle. This is why modern writers suck at their jobs, because they can only write characters from their own narrow-minded perspective. That being someone who is unable to accept the concepts of escapism and fantasy. Let's make these fictional characters just like us, boring and one-dimensional.
Why do these things always happen to me?
This modernizing of characters is not adding more depth to them. In fact, it's actually going against everything that they initially stood for. So then we move on to Halle Bailey's comments specifically. Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm no Little Mermaid expert, but isn't there an entire musical number in the animated original where Ariel talks about what she wants and how she wants to be able to walk and do things as a normal person would? And this is before she even meets the prince, as far as I know. So basically what I gather from this is that the person playing Ariel doesn't understand who Ariel is as a character.
Why?
She's not defined by her infatuation with some guy in that movie. It is part of her journey, yes, but Ariel is her own character. She's the lead character. She has her own ambitions, and they very clearly show that in the original movie. But I guess modern writers and actors are too shallow to even recognize that. But by all means, keep thinking that you're making an iconic character better.
What an idiot! Oh, what a loser!
The bottom line here is that Disney is garbage. They are the true enemy of creativity, as I always say. Everything they do is either coming from a place of being purely ignorant or completely disingenuous. You'll all be interested to know that over 1.5 million people have downvoted the Little Mermaid trailer on the official Disney YouTube page. Now, Disney would have you believe that all of those people are toxic and racist. And who knows, some of them might be. But the truth is that a majority of those 1.5 million people, I would be willing to bet, are starting to see through Disney's bullshit. And I think that's something that we can be thankful for. The truth is that the only way they will ever get it through their thick, greedy heads that they need to put more effort into what they produce and stop insulting everyone's intelligence is by people taking a stance and speaking out against something that they don't agree with. That means not settling for garbage and demanding better. It's really that simple. And we can't allow them to deflect criticism using diversity either, because that's not doing anyone any favors, including the actors and actresses that are playing these roles. All I'm trying to say here is do better, Disney. You have one fucking job, and that's to entertain us. And up until this point, you have been surprisingly bad at it.
So I strongly suggest that you wake the fuck up.
Y'all be cool. Shut up.